We have to understand that my case is about a fundamental constitutional issue, which is only an act of Parliament, primary legislation, can establish or take away people's rights. So a motion with a timetable is really not good enough.
There was an awful lot of anger and emotion stirred up by the High Court ruling, and also in the last few days as the case was being heard by the Supreme Court. What do you say to those 52%, or some of those 52% of the British public, who basically accuse you and the unelected judges of trying to thwart the will of the people?
Well, this is exactly what they voted for. British law in a British court decided by British judges to preserve British parliamentary sovereignty. This is exactly what we should be voting for.
But they're afraid that Parliament is being used, that the courts are being used to either kick Brexit into the long grass or, at the end of the day, possibly even subvert it.
No, because this case is about the mechanism of how we leave. It's not about leaving. It's about the process and the mechanism. In every walk of life, there's a process. If you want to drive a car, you have to apply for a license, get insurance, MOTs. There was no process in place when it came to Article 50, and that's what this case is asserting.
But there are some Remainers who hope that the process will be so complicated and long-winded that at the end of the day, it might lead to an overturning of the original result, either with another referendum or indeed an election that will result in something
I have to say,
different.
I'm not in the camp of a second referendum. I don't believe we have to move forwards, and that has to be about a vote in Parliament. And those people who say that it will thwart the will because of Parliament voting on this, actually look at the motion, your original question yesterday. It was, a huge in favour of voting for the government. So I do not believe that there is a will in the Parliament to overturn Brexit.
Now, after the High Court ruling, you got some extraordinary abuse in social media. I mean, really repulsive stuff. People calling for you to be killed, to be deported, someone, I think, wishing that you got cancer. I mean, really nasty, nasty stuff. What's your response to those people?
Well, first of all, I can say that it's not just on social media. It's much closer than that. It's letters, emails, calls.
Is that still going on?
Still going on.
Every day?
Yes, every day. And there was an announcement this week on police action. There are more being investigated by the police. But what I think is, I have to put it to one side, because people are angry. And I don't actually blame them for being angry, because we got here because of people's anger, because people are angry that they're not being considered, they're being left behind, that phrase the politicians use. So I'm not angry with them. What I am angry with, I'm angry with the politicians and certain media who are enabling people or saying to them it's okay to behave like this. It isn't.
Do you think the government has done enough to silence that kind of abuse?
Absolutely not. I mean,
have you asked them to do something? Have you written to the Prime Minister and said, say something about this?
No. We have taken action legally and through other associations and IPSO, etc., where we've asked, I have complained, but I would have thought that the Prime Minister herself would have thought about this. David Davis did stand up in Parliament on the Monday, but I have to say it's shameful that it took a question from Chuka Munif to allow him to do that. But more politicians of all colours should be standing up and saying this is wrong.
Gina Miller, thanks very much.
Welcome.